is extremely important. And I would say that, more than anything else that we do in designing some of these devices, in terms of its exterior, in terms of the design in the interior, interface is the most important thing. And if you can make an interface that is helpful, that is easy to use, that is kind of straightforward and powerful, then I think you probably got something in an all-in-one TV. That being said, I remain skeptical. Things have come leaps and bounds, guys. Think of where things have moved even just in 5 years with that. Think about that. 5 years ago, think about the functionality and the user interface of even something very simple like an Xbox. Things have come in leaps and bounds. Remember the launched interface for the Xbox 360, the dashboard? It was horrendous if you look at it from today's standards. I'm not saying it wasn't very functional and very powerful. It very much was. But it suffered so much in terms of really, if you look in terms of what we can do with an Xbox today with a new experience, or the new experience I should say, since they've relaunched it twice, it is absolutely night and day, head and shoulders above what the Xbox 360 was capable of in 2005. Right? Not really going crazy and shocking anyone to say that, I think. All right. And now also we have Maze. Maze brings the idea, and I'm so glad to have some parents in the forum to really bring up that great perspective, that sometimes the kids rule the TV. And then what do you do as a parent? You want to watch your kids. You want to make sure that you're just not using the electronic babysitter, but you also want to be able to kind of connect to your content as well. I don't have kids. I'm just assuming this is what Maze is talking about. If that's the case, then I think the flexibility that Prangerate is talking about becomes very important, right? And this really allows me the platform to jump into something that I want to talk about that's a little bit different. So you guys all brought up very interesting perspectives, and I think all those things have to contend with. Many of you say it's a great idea, but you say it's not for me, especially if the price point isn't fantastic. And folks, I'm going to tell you, if you put a DVR, which is a very expensive piece of equipment you currently lease from your service provider, most likely, unless you have TiVo, for a very cheap amount of money. For example, I have my DVR, I pay $5 or $10 a month to my service provider to be able to have that box and use it as my DVR. Well, if I have to take that DVR, which might be a $300 piece of equipment, those of you that own a TiVo could tell me better, and cram that inside of a TV, that's going to make the TV a lot more expensive. If I have to take my PlayStation or my Xbox 360 and I want to cram that inside of my TV, unfortunately, it's going to make it a lot more expensive. So are you willing to not buy a 360, instead to buy a TV with a 360 inside of it? I don't know. But cost is a big part of this. But let's talk about philosophy for a second. And this is brought up by Maze and I think Prangerate and others. And getting into what I really think about this. I think these guys might have it all wrong. And it's one of the reasons I wanted to ask this question. I've really been thinking about it quite a bit. So here's what we're essentially seeing. And we've seen this in other markets, right? Where we have kind of a more distributed and autonomous kind of model versus a kind of central control model, right? So when TVs really began, right, there's no real computation, TVs are just kind of something that picks up a signal, has a singular purpose. It picks up signal from the airwaves and it retranslated it into a form where you can watch it and interface with it in some way. But it was really kind of unidirectional. Let's not call it interface really as much as it's kind of unidirectional. Right? Or unidirectional broadcast. As things get smarter and as there are technologies that utilize computation, what we're seeing now is a kind of more distributed model where, we distribute the content to all of the different nodes that are out there, like a television, for example, where a TV could be its own little media server that interfaces to other servers and other places out there that provide content. But really, its job is to kind of take care of the most basic functions, your music, your movies, your TV, right? Without having any kind of real connectivity to anything in the outside world. It kind of does that in and of itself. That's cool. It's distributed, right? And distributed is awesome. But I think that's a very antiquated kind of model, because what we're seeing now, especially with something like OnLive, and thank you for I forget who posted the link to On Live. It might have been Sheer Owl Wolf. Anyway, the point is, guys, the idea of building something like that in means that you're not getting that kind of distributed processing from the device itself. That means that I think everybody's got it completely wrong. Because if we then take the distribution model and we break it apart to where I think it should be, where we have things more centrally located, and I hate to use the word cloud because that's not necessarily what this is, right? But it's a kind of, because it's kind of a mini cloud. It's almost like a personal cloud. It's like a your own kind of space. But what if your TV was nothing at all but a viewing device and an interface, as Bismarck talked about? And I think Brooklyn Surf starts getting into a little bit of this, but let me try to explain what I mean by this. If your TV is nothing but a viewing device, which can view multiple kinds of resolutions, so on and so forth, with decided form factors that are fairly easy for it to translate like NTSC or PAL, right? Or HD, or whatever the case might be, whatever you want to throw at it, right? If it doesn't do anything but that, slash interface through a remote control, Kinect-like gestures, Wii-like RF gestures, so on and so forth, right? If that's all your TV does, it interprets what you're doing and it helps view stuff from other places, then what are the hurdles at that point, guys? Think about it. I think this is the way things are really moving. Because if I can put, like say an On Live, right? Well, let's forget On Live for a second. Let's say I buy my 360 and I could put it in a central location inside of my house where it's basically linked to a distribution box that distributes to all different boxes in the house, right? At that point, if I want to play Xbox in my room upstairs, or I want to play Xbox in my living room, or I want to play it blah, 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 I just have a controller there that can do that. I tell my TV, I want to play Xbox. It goes out, launches the Xbox, and it does nothing but view the stream from the Xbox that's centrally located from my controller right there. Then I can buy as many of those monitoring devices and as many of those controllers as I want to extend it as wherever I would want to go. I could also, dare I say, bring that out onto the internet. I could bring that to my friend's house who has a similar monitoring device that's connected to the internet. It has a creative, or has, not necessarily creative, but has necessary connectivity to be able to handle that kind of a stream, and I could play my Xbox right there in front of everybody else. It's still powered remotely. It's still centrally located, but it's not somewhere out there in the cloud where someone runs it and administers it with SLAs and everything else. It's now something that's central just to me. And then the TV is nothing but a viewing device and an interface. And see, guys, I think, to me, that's the way that things should be going. I think Apple's been doing that already, right? Your iPad is not supposed to be the center of your computational world. Because what you do is you leave the compute somewhere else, and the iPad, the TV, whatever, becomes just a very nice viewing device that goes back to that and connects to your content. Let's say you leave all your DVDs, all of your music, all of your whatever right inside your little box there, and then you have it right in front of you to play wherever you want to do. Now, I know the next logical step, and many of you are going to say this, is moving it all into the cloud, a Google service, an Amazon service, so on and so forth. I agree. I'm not saying that we couldn't do that. I'm saying you could still retain a ton of personal control and have viewing monitors with interface devices wherever you could possibly want them. And to unify under one standard for that, I think would work perfectly. And it would be something that you could do very simply without a ton of infrastructure and without a ton of investment. And at that point, your TV is nothing more than a kind of oversized monitor. And I think you could do all kinds of things with that interface, with Kinect, with all those kinds of things. And you take care of everything. In Maze's example, the kids come in, they want to watch Beauty and the Beast. You throw on Beauty and the Beast on the TV, say, okay, kids, here you go. But you're not just going to leave them there, right? Let's say you want to catch up on your episodes of Doctor Who. You turn the TV on, it runs Beauty and the Beast from Netflix or from your own personal DVD collection from somewhere centrally located. You pop on to your tablet, you say, you know, hey guys, I want to watch my TV, a la what Brooklyn Surf was talking about, logging right into your service provider and saying, hey, I want to watch episodes of Doctor Who either from Netflix or from my service provider right here on my tablet. You're sitting there right in front of me, you pop in headphones, you're good to go. Why does a TV have to make sense of that? Why does my tablet have to make sense of that? What are they at that point except just viewing devices? They do nothing but stream the pipe in through the connection and then display the video. Obviously, guys, I have a lot invested in this. I'm very passionate about this. I think this is a really cool way to go. I'm just not sure that the idea of the all-in-one TV really hits me very well. I think it might be going in completely the wrong direction. I'm not saying that it won't take off. I'm not saying it won't be intensely popular. I'm not saying that there aren't people lining up outside to go buy an Apple TV so they can hang one box on the wall and never have to do anything else forever. If that's the way you live your life with that one TV there and it's never going to move and that's the only TV you're ever going to buy, then God bless you. Buy that TV, hang it on your wall, and move forward with life. But I think, if we're being honest, I think there's a niche of the market that does that, but it's not most of the market. I think most of the market want to have their TV that they can move anywhere. They don't want to just hang it on the wall. They want to hang it on any wall at any time. They're not just people that want to, leave in one place and connect a bunch of stuff to and then, kind of leave it there. They want to move it to other applications, new consoles, new locations, new TVs, whatever the case might be, and they want to be able to do all those things wherever they go. And that kind of freedom to move is exactly what I think Wringer is talking about, and why a more centralized model instead of a distributed model, I think, makes more sense. It's the way that things are moving in life, in business, in everything we do. Why are they fighting it in TVs? I don't understand. Anyway, so am I ready to jump into the all-in-one concept? Absolutely, positively not. Forget it. It's not my thing. But could I see myself doing it if the value proposition on it were good? Yes, I could see it. If they really make a good value prop and it becomes very inexpensive, where you chop $150, $100, $200 even off of every box that you consolidate into a TV, I would really think about that. I would think about having to do that. That's just too inexpensive to note. At that point, do I buy an Xbox that I can move everywhere and have an extra piece of hardware lugging around, or could I get it for $150 cheaper than what I would buy it for normally? I think I'd have to go with that. That makes a lot of sense to me. I could buy two for the price of one at that point and have another TV in the other room that did it. So anyway, guys, you see that there are many perspectives to this. You guys are always free to have your thoughts. If you have any other thoughts, feel free to private message me. That's great. Or through the website, or you can easily send me an email at Commodore128@clanofthegraywolf.com, or feel free to start a forum topic in the clanofthegraywolf.com forums, and just cue me in. Let me know you're starting to talk about some of that stuff. I don't check the forums as religiously as I should, as many of you know. So if you put something out there, let me know, and I will check on it. All right. Now that we've probably beat that dead horse to a bloody, horrible pulp, let's move on to the question for next week. Now, I started thinking about this week because all the Oscar buzz. We are in the Oscar season, right? We're starting to think about all the movies that are out there that have been really, really great for the last year, or we start to scratch our heads as to why the hell was that film nominated. Now, we don't have the nominations yet, but those things are coming very shortly. Here's what I want to know from you guys as we think about Oscar season. As I said, we hadn't talked about film in a long time, so I wanted to sit down and talk about movies. What was your favorite movie of the last year? What movie was your favorite from the last year, and why? Maybe not necessarily what do you think is the film that deserves the Oscar for Best Picture, but what do you think was your favorite movie from the last year? And tell me what the reasons surrounding that really are. And I have a funny feeling many of us will probably pick some of the same films, and we'll probably have some of the same criteria for what makes them great. So anyway, that is the question for next week's Weekly Ringer. Thank you all for commenting. Thank you all for watching. As always, I am the Commodore from the Clan of the Grey Wolf, and there is no reset button.